Hello everyone and welcome back to another brand new video. It has certainly been a while, honestly not that long, it's been 2 weeks since the last episode, but we are back. It just feels like ages since I've done a review for some reason. But anyway, we are starting off the 5th arc of Pokemon Horizons with Mega Voltage, and we have a two-parter today. Once More to the Skies, Part 1 and 2 aired earlier today, and so of course we're going to review both of them. So let's not waste any time and get right into it. So since this episode is a two-parter, I'm just going to refer to them as Part 1 and 2. So let's start with Part 1, of course. So this episode begins with us actually following Roy, and we see that after the events of the last episode, where, everything went down in Laqua, and then we had the 1 year skip, we see that all of the Voltacklers kind of separated and went on their own. So Liko went back to her home and then went back to the Indigo Academy. Roy was dropped back off on his island and Dot went back to her home. And since then, it seems, of course, that Roy has decided to adventure and travel on his own. And in doing so, he has not only caught his brand new Pokemon Lucario, which we saw at the very end of the last episode. He has this shiny Lucario now. He also has met this boy named Alt. And of course, they already know each other by the time this episode starts. They're already, I don't know, I guess we can't say, I guess they're kind of friends, but I guess they're more like rivals because Rory seems kind of annoyed with Alt. He seems very, kind of similar to how Rory used to be. He was very energetic, but at the same time, unlike Rory, he was always really nice and kind, Alt seems a little bit, not really, I guess kind of annoying. He's very high energy, very, very energetic, really wants to do what he wants to do. So yeah, it's very interesting to see their dynamic where he really wants to get information about Roy. He's constantly bringing up Rayquaza, so I guess he wants to talk more about Roy with that. And Roy is just trying to figure out what's going on with the situation with this Laqueum, because there is Laqueum having a major role now in the Pokemon world outside of Laqua. Roy ends up being told by Dot that this Pokemon across the Pokemon world are infected with Laqueum, so that's the only time we really see Dot in this two-parter in this one scene. Well, we do see her a little bit later, but we only see her on the phone, of course, because she's back at home. And we see a little bit of her mom, too, as she's back at home, like I said. But she's still working with Roy and reporting on him, so that was really nice to see that they're still connected in that way. But anyway, there's this Slacking that has been infested with Laqueum, and it's pretty much acting very aggressively. And so Roy is trying to quietly observe it, whereas this boy Alt is just being really loud, and he's not really trying to be discreet whatsoever, and his Sableye even goes up to this Slacking that Roy is trying to observe from a distance and just gets into this battle with it. So we can see what kind of character Alt is. And, he seems really interesting. Again, his dynamics with the group look like he's going to be this one that's kind of the annoying one, but I guess we'll see more of him later. Regardless of that, he is at least a good battler. We see him and Roy take on this Slacking. Roy uses all of his Pokemon pretty much, but he mainly focuses on his new shiny Lucario, which he Mega Evolves, and Alt Mega Evolves his Sableye, and they do end up being able to calm down this Slacking, and they do report that back to Dot. So that's all really nice to see. And after that, that's pretty much the first half of the first part. And the second focuses more on Liko. So we see that Liko has returned to the Indigo Academy and is resuming her studies. We see her with Ann. Of course, they're still roommates, and it's really nice to see that. We see that Ann's Pokemon have also evolved. Both her Dewott and Sandshrew have evolved into Samurott and Sandslash. So that was really nice. I really enjoyed seeing the fact that her Pokemon have evolved as well. And we see that Ann is kind of this high-ranking student in the academy, and we see a bit more of that later on. But anyway, the second half of the episode, it really just focuses on showing us more of Liko and Ann's interactions, showing us their Pokemon and how they've been doing. So I really enjoyed that. I always love Liko and Ann's interactions. I've loved them from the start. I just love that they're just the closest ever. The only downside that we see in this episode is that, and we kind of see it at the end of the last episode, is that the Rising Voltacklers kind of have this negative history in the media now. We see that Spinel and the Explorers have kind of smeared the name of the Rising Voltacklers in the media, so most people are afraid of them, they don't trust them. So at this point in time, they don't know that Liko was a member of the Rising Voltacklers, but some people are gossiping about it, and Ann is of course not happy about this, but Liko kind of quiets them down. And so they just go off on their own way for a bit, and we see at the very end of the episode, Liko is just by herself, with Masquerada and Hatchroom, of course. And we see that Rory flies in on Kilowattrel, and this is them reuniting after this, I guess, whole 1 year being apart. So that was really great to see. So of course that's going to lead into the next part where we see Liko and Rory truly reuniting and getting back in touch. So let's get right back into that now with part 2. Part 2 starts with Rory landing. He has basically, like I said, flown on over to Indigo Academy with Kilowattrel to reunite with her. And so he also reunites with Ann. And it's really so funny just seeing Liko and Rory together again. It's kind of almost jarring seeing that Liko is shorter than Rory now when she was taller than him before. But of course it makes sense since it's been a whole year. I just think it was really funny to see that Rory's the tallest of everyone. And of course he reunites with Ann. It's good seeing them get together again and reunite, talk about what's been going on. And he does inform both of them about the situation with Laqueum and how they've been informed about this from Dot. So all of that is good to see, but again, unfortunately, Liko is a bit hesitant to get back with the Rising Voltaclers with the negative connotations going around and school and everyone talking about it. But Rory really wants to figure out what's going on and get the Rising Voltaclers back together. So this episode really focuses more on showing off the growth of Liko and Rory in their time apart, because Rory ends up having 2 battles, one against Ann and then later one against Liko. Against Ann, he battles with his shiny Lucario and she uses her Samurott, and he is able to win. And in the second battle, he battled against Liko and he uses his, of course, partner Crocolore, and she uses her partner in Masquerada. And while Liko does dominate much of the battle, showing her skills and how Masquerada now battles in its new evolved form, after terrestrializing, Rory is actually the one who was able to win. So that was really nice to see. I really like the fact that Rory won both of the battles, because it's really just showing again his growth from the very beginning of the series up until now, where he wasn't the best battler. Now he's able to take out 2 opponents in one episode. So that was really nice to see, and I really enjoyed that. The episode does end with Liko deciding that she and Rory are going to go try to reunite the Rising Voltaclers and see what's going on with the situation with the Laqueum going around and what's going on all across the world, and also trying to reunite with the others. The episode ends with them on the bus leaving and Ann waving goodbye to them. And then we see a small snippet showing Spinel, and he has captured the 6 hero Pokemon. Well, he has captured 5 of the 6 hero Pokemon. He has everyone but Rayquaza, essentially. So that's how part 2 ends, and that is the end of the 1 hour special. So overall, I really did enjoy it. I thought everything went by really great. I love seeing how Liko and Rory have grown, how they've progressed. Seeing Rory's dynamics with Ult was really funny, and of course seeing Liko and Ann together again with their interactions. I've always loved seeing them together, and I love seeing them again now. Just the contrast from them at the beginning as rookies and new students, and now again Ann being a high-ranking student at the Indigo Academy, both of their partner Pokemon having fully evolved. And so it's really just nice to see. And the only, I guess, downside of this 2-parter was that we really didn't get that much backstory for Rory meeting Ult, how he learned about Mega Evolution, how he caught his Lucario, and all of that stuff. But I'm sure we're going to get some sort of flashback episode explaining all of that in the future. For now, I guess they wanted to just reestablish most of our old characters that we are familiar with Liko, Rory, and Ann. And of course, introducing Ult and just showing what his dynamic with Rory is. And I'm assuming we're gonna, like I said, get their backstory later on, so that's fine. Overall, I thought this was a great start to the Mega Voltage arc, and I'm excited to see them reuniting with Dot in person, and then eventually getting back together with the entire Rising Voltacler crew. So that was it for the 2-parter today. Let me know what you guys thought of it in the comments below, and I will see you all next time. Thank you!